Well, that was quite a basketball game, allegedly. All right, welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, powered by BetUS. As I crack open a hard-earned one, please, after that. I don't know, was that a rugby match? Was that a football game? That was something? That was something else. I'll tell you what it was. It was a significant win for the Knicks, and I know it. I am prone to hyperbole. You go back and you look at, I don't know what did they win? 50 games last year. I probably called I don't know, 38 of those wins significant or meaningful or whatever in some form or fashion. I think at the stage of that this team is at, this newly formed group of guys that are learning how to go from a decent team to a good team, and a good team to a great team, and hopefully a great team eventually to a championship contender. These little hurdles that you face along the way, each of them is unique, and all of them require different muscles, collective muscles as a team. And this is now the third time that the Knicks have faced the Orlando Magic this season. It has all of them have been backyard brawls in some form or fashion. But tonight, and I know Franz was there for the first game. I get it. But tonight was the first time where it felt like, okay, we really figured these guys out. Like we know what they're trying to do. We get it. We get the assignment. And now we just got to go out and we got to deal with it. And it took them a half. Like, this was a tie game at the half. You wouldn't know it from the final score, but this thing was, the Magic were up by 8 in the first half of this game early on. And it was a battle. But second half, after I wrote it down, 14 turnovers in the first 5.5 minutes, 7 by each team of the second half. The Knicks kind of got down to business, and I thought this was a game that featured a couple of defining players and a couple of defining plays. And I know Jalen Brunson had himself, an all-star caliber performance, but I would be remiss not to start this post game talking about Josh Hart. Josh Hart is going into this season the biggest reason why I didn't worry about a loss of identity. The Knicks traded away, obviously, Julius Randle, traded away Dante DiVincenzo, lost Isaiah Hartenstein through no fault of their own. There was no functional way to keep him, but he was as big a part of that tough identity as anyone. And like, you knew it was going to take some getting used to the group of guys that they now had. Not to say that Karl-Anthony Towns isn't tough. I think he's very tough. Same thing with Mikal Bridges. Same thing with all the guys on the roster. But when you develop the level of toughness that team had last year, that unrelenting toughness, where it wasn't only for 48 minutes of every game, it was eventually it just got game after game after game. It didn't matter. They were coming at you until you cut their limbs off, and they were going to figure out a way to come at you. It's why all of us watched until the very end of Game 7 against the Pacers, because we thought, hey, if there's ever been an NBA team in the history of the league that would figure out a way to get back in that game, it was this Knicks team. They just didn't know how to quit. And they changed the identity of the team quite a bit, and I think they've been pretty open about that. We've certainly talked about it a lot. But did you keep enough? Did you keep enough? And look, we could talk about Brunson here as well. Brunson's, pound for pound, he might be the toughest player in the NBA. I think you saw that tonight too. But it takes a special kind of guy to rally the troops in the way that Josh Hart did tonight. And he's the player of the game. He finished with, don't even have it. I'll look it up right now. Ended up with 7 rebounds in the third quarter alone, which was 1 fewer than the entire Orlando Magic team had in the third quarter. Finished the game with 13 rebounds. 3 of those came in the fourth quarter. Might have been his best game of the season. 23 points on 11 shots. This was a Josh Hart game through and through. I mean, it was really a Josh Hart half more than anything, but we could go the extra mile and call it a Josh Hart game. You can't fake what he does. You can't you can't go out and buy that on the open market. I mean, you can, Josh Hart's salary, a big part of it it has to do with the sort of performances that he gives tonight, but he was absolutely outstanding. And that was not a game about X's and O's, although we'll talk about some of the X's and O's and what they had to do with the Knicks taking fewer threes than any team has in any game this season, most of which came during garbage time, actually. And we talk about the X's and O's on the other end as well. But no, that was a game where, your toughest versus my toughest, who's gonna be left standing at the end of the day. And it was Josh Hart, and with him, it was his teammates, the New York Knicks. So fantastic Josh Hart game. The bigger, that to me though, that's not. It's praiseworthy. It's not significant because that's who Josh Hart is. Doesn't matter who Josh Hart is playing. The more significant game for me in this one is Jalen Brunson. And you look at Brunson's final stats, they weren't great. Only took 2 threes, missed both of them. I saw somebody tweeted it out before that Brunson hasn't hit a 3 since the Pelicans game. So I guess it's 3 straight games now. He hasn't hit a 3, hasn't taken a ton of threes, but I'm not too worried about that. Brunson goes through these little ebbs and flows. I think he goes into these different games saying, all right, this is the best way for me to attack this game. This is the best way for me to attack this game. And sometimes he just knows he has to take more threes. Other times, and it has to do with a comfort level, with how teams are defending him. Like they were playing up on him tonight, I thought, a good deal. Like they weren't really giving him the opportunity, or any of the Knicks really a great opportunity to go for threes against them. So give the Magic credit for that. And give Jalen Brunson credit for responding. Because I know 26 points on 11 of 21 from the field doesn't sound all that impressive. But when you factor in who he was playing and you factor in the 9 assists to 1 turnover against this Magic team. And again, this was not a turnover averse Knicks team tonight. They turned the ball over 19 freaking times. That's a lot. I'll look it up now as far as where that puts this game with their... As far as their season long, have they had more turnovers in a game? I'm not sure they have. Yes, they had. So this is you can't write this shit. Their most turnovers they had in a game was that awful game the day after Thanksgiving against the Hornets that they won by 1 point, where it was an ugly win. But they had 21 turnovers in that game. This is now, you really can't write this shit. This is now the 3rd time they have played the Orlando Magic, and in all 3 of those games, they have had exactly 19 turnovers. Again, you really, truly cannot write this stuff. This is what this Magic team does to you. They unnerve you. They get into your shorts, your jersey, everything. But Jalen Brunson, to his credit, did not fall into that trap. 9 assists, 1 turnover, incredibly significant. I thought, and you saw this especially last season when the Magic played him. The Magic were one of the few teams that dictated terms to Jalen Brunson last year. And this season, bit by bit, he has figured out how to dictate terms to the Orlando Magic. And I thought that came through most clearly in this game tonight. He got to his comfort spots. He did not let what the Magic were doing unnerve him. Were there a couple of shots that he missed that he normally makes? Sure. Again, give the Magic credit for that. You feel them at all times, but I did not think Jalen Brunson ever let them take him out of his game. So really, I thought significant game for Brunson. And then I guess the third guy that I want to talk about is Mikal Bridges. But before I do, I don't think the MSG camera crew got a great shot of this, but I'm fairly certain when Brunson baited and successfully baited Jalen Suggs for his 5th foul, And this is, of course, when Suggs went out of the game, and it really turned the game around for the Magic. Look, Jalen Suggs is a guy that I'm sure I would love him if he was on my team. That said, from afar, I am happy I don't have to root for him. I mean, the shooting inconsistency is not something that I would be able to deal with on a game-to-game basis. For as much as I know every Magic fan loves him to death, and they should, because that guy leaves it all out there. But to his credit, when he was in there, like, he was making the Knicks' life difficult. And when Jalen Brunson baited him on that foul, I'm pretty sure he waved goodbye to him as he was going to the bench. I'm going to have to look for that clip, see if I can find it, put it in tomorrow's Knicks Film School newsletter. Nice game from Jalen Brunson. Third guy I want to talk about is Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges obviously has been the talk of I really feel like he's kind of been one of the talking points of the NBA in the last few days. Obviously, the stats that have been going around, highest true shooting percentage in the league over the month of December. He has the best plus minus of any player in the league over the month of December. Going into tonight, he was leading the Knicks in scoring average over the month of December. A slightly more subdued game for him than he had on Christmas Day, but 17 points, 6 of 12 from the field. And I thought the two steals that he had, and we'll, Kev, if you could pull up the autograph decal here. I think I got to give the autograph signature moment of the game to it has those two plays. I feel like they have to go together. It was consecutive Mikal Bridges steals. I'm pretty sure they credited him with both steals. They didn't credit him with both steals. He was the responsible party for both of those steals. And it was right in the midst of that crazy run that the Knicks had that really turned the game in their favor and kind of made it a laugher from there. Like, again, is the defense going to be perfect every night? No. Was it perfect tonight? No. You saw Jalen Suggs get his way into the paint. But also give Suggs credit. Like, if he's going to hit tough mid-rangers, and he hit a bunch of tough mid-rangers tonight, if he's going to make threes, like, to some extent, you tip your cap. But I thought Bridges did a really respectable job on the whole. And when you factor in Bridges' splash plays on defense and those impact plays that he is able to make, which is part of the reason they got him. It wasn't just to guard the point of attack. It's everything that he does on the defensive end. And I thought he was really good at that tonight. Just another really, really solid game from Bridges after Hart being a plus 23, leading the Knicks in plus minus tonight. Bridges was a plus 21. And sure as shit, man, Tibbs just absolutely no conscience when it comes to the minutes, specifically for Mikal Bridges. Not really for Josh Hart either. He doesn't really care how. I mean, I think he would play Hart and Bridges 48 minutes a night. But Bridges 44 minutes. First end of a back-to-back. I'll be curious if he actually curtails Bridges' minutes tomorrow against Washington. Obviously, going against the Wizards, you hope that game's not close. But nobody else that concerning. Hart 38, Brunson 37, Towns 34. Anunoby really didn't play a lot. I thought that was interesting that Anunoby, seemed like he was really, really careful about Anunoby's minutes tonight. I only played him 28 minutes, which, maybe that was flow of the game stuff. I don't really know. But yeah. So those are the three Knicks that I want to talk about. Again, those steals, shout out to Autograph for their signature moment of the game. If you want to catch some exclusive content from me and also get credit for all of the things you are already doing, listening to podcasts, reading blogs, checking out my newsletter, all that stuff, just go on the Autograph app, say you're a Knicks fan, start racking up credit for it, and be rewarded for your fandom. You will be happy you did. Couple other thoughts on this game before we move on to the super chats. Landry Shamet. Oh, there it is. Better late than never, Kev. I appreciate it. Well, you know what? Keep it up there. You know why? Because I'm going to amend it. We will add an extension to our autograph signature moment of the game. Landry Shamet coming in and playing basketball as a member of the Knicks rotation. How you doing? Welcome back, Landry Shamet. Obviously, he's been with the team for a couple games, but this was the first time he actually played minutes. Again, as part of the rotation, not garbage time. He was really good. So we'll give an honorary autograph signature moment of the game to the Landry Shamet 3. He had his first 3 when he entered the game. And then shortly thereafter had a nice steal that turned into points. He also had, I thought he had a nice finish at the rim on like what looked like kind of a floater, and just really solid minutes. I know he didn't play a lot. I'm looking it up right now. He ended up playing 10 minutes, but some of those were in garbage time. But he ended up actually with 2 steals on the night. So Landry Shamet, good to have you back. Got to think we're going to continue to see him in the rotation. On the flip side, Cameron Payne for the second game in a row did not play in the second half. Now, look, I don't want to make too big of a deal of that. Knicks on Christmas played San Antonio, who was a massive team. Knicks tonight played Orlando, who, even if they may not be as massive as San Antonio, they play like a massive team. And I get Tibbs if you wanted to have a little bit more size out there. So I'm not, and again, I'm a big campaign fan. So I would like to see him continue to be a more significant part of the rotation, like he's been for a lot of the year. I think he's been really good. But a couple interesting rotation things. So going back to Shamet for a second, we saw the alignment that we suspected we would see, right? The 3-guard alignment, Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Cam Payne, all played together in the first half. The interesting part of that, you knew Towns would be out there with them. That wasn't a surprise. It was Precious out there, along with Towns and the 3 guards, which surprised me a little bit because I thought it would be Bridges. And if it wasn't Bridges, I thought it would be Anunoby to give that group a real defensive presence and maybe help out on the boards. It started with Precious, then he went to Hart, and then he was really small. Obviously, Hart was the 4 in that alignment, and then I think after that he took out one of the 3 guards and I think put in Bridges. So some monitor if that 3-guard lineup will continue to play, which I have to think that it will, and who plays with them. And then the other interesting thing, well, the game was still, I don't want to say the game was in the balance, but the game was certainly not decided yet. Tibbs, for the second game in a row, gives Brunson a breather in the middle of the fourth quarter. And Towns was in the game. Granted, wasn't like San Antonio where there was no Towns or Brunson, but it was still like, okay, we're going to rely on, Mikal Bridges to direct the offense. And that's another feather in Bridges' cap tonight. I thought, and James Edwards tweeted about this earlier this evening, that for stretches of this game, it looked like they were giving Mikal Bridges more initiation and ball handling responsibilities than in any game that we've seen this year. I love that. I love that because the Knicks need that. And I wrote about that concept extensively in today's newsletter, this concept of the ideal third guy, who's the perfect third guy to be the member of the big 3. And it hasn't felt like the Knicks have had a big 3 so far this year, and it's feeling more like that lately because of Bridges taking a step up and getting more of these responsibilities. You figured it would only be a matter of time, and here he is, and he's doing all the things that we would have expected him to do when they traded for him. So that was good. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to hit on before we go. Weird game. Let's end with that. Weird game. So the Knicks, obviously, in this one, only hit 4 threes. They only attempted 15 threes, and I think I'm pretty sure 5 of them were in the last 2-3 minutes where it was garbage time. So a couple interesting stats if you like statistics. This is now, because the Knicks only shot 26.7% from 3 in this game, although it was more about the threes they didn't take than the threes they didn't make. But still, this is the 5th win the Knicks have this season when they have shot 33% or worse from downtown. They are now 5-6 in games where they shoot 33% or worse from downtown. Last season, they were 6-19 when they shot 33% or worse from 3. This season, they are 1 win away from equaling that total. If they win one more game the rest of the year while shooting 33% or less from downtown, they will have equaled their win total in such games as they had last year. So for all of the talk, I know I've said this a few times, I'm going to say it again because I got it a lot on post games to start the year. This team can't win the games that last year's team could win. Well, guess what? They're winning them, and not only are they winning them, they're winning them at a much higher clip. So that's number 1. Number 2, I thought, there's a fine line between taking what the defense gives you and letting the defense dictate terms of the game. I thought the Knicks towed that line beautifully in this one. And you look and they only, again, 26.7% from three. They shot 54% for the game. I thought the shots that they were taking were good shots. And I thought, how many so they only ended up with 18 assists on 40 made field goals. Obviously, that's not great. It's below where they've been for much of this game. I thought their passing was really strong tonight. I did. I thought they ISO'd when that was what the smart money said you should do. Like sometimes you got to use the skill of your guys like Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges. And it wasn't so much Towns tonight, but him too. Even OG Anunoby a couple times. And sometimes you move the ball. I thought they did both of those things tonight. I thought the 18 assists doesn't really speak to how well they move the ball tonight against a team that is tough to move the ball against. Obviously, look, the 19 turnovers are atrocious. And was that a sign that they maybe tried to move the ball a little bit too much and the Magic got the better of them in those situations? That's fine. Got to clean that up. No other way to say it. Got to clean it up. But I thought when they were good, they were really good. And good job getting the line. Again, how that game was reffed. I don't even know what to say about how that game was reffed. I mean, I obviously thought the Knicks earned the calls that they got. Rough free throw shooting game. It happens from time to time. I'm not worried about that long term. And then fast break, 19-2. When they got a turnover on the Magic, and the Magic turned it over 17 times. Here's the stat of the game. Let's end with this. Other than the rebounds, 44-32 advantage Knicks. Here's the stat of the game. Knicks had more turnovers than the Magic, 19-17. Points generated off of those turnovers. Knicks generated 24 points off of the Magic 17 turnovers. The Magic could only generate 10 points off of the Knicks 19 turnovers. So even though the Knicks had 2 more turnovers than the Magic, they outscored them on points off of turnovers 24-10, which again, take advantage of the situations that you're in. And if you do turn the ball over, make sure you go get back on defense. And by the way, a lot of them were like out of bounds turnovers, which are not nearly as bad as live ball turnovers. I'd be curious to go back and see how many of the Knicks 19 turnovers were live ball turnovers, because I didn't think there were that many, and the ones that they had, I thought they did a really good job getting back and get back on defense. Okay, I think that's it. I've talked a whole lot for a game that was as ugly as that game was.